once in a while I have a bout of inspiration where you look at other people's photos and you're like, oh man, attention to detail. Like, how do you guys get it to look so good? So I'm in a cleaning mode right now, and I really want everything to shine up and polish well. Genevieve had much cleaner parts than Bruce does, so Bruce requires a little bit more attention there. These are 2 intake manifolds. A couple of options. Muriatic acid, probably the strongest, worst thing. If you leave aluminum in there, it will dissolve. So it's like 30 seconds and you rinse it. Lemon juice, baking soda, and the Blue Magic metal polish cream. This is an ammonia base, which does seem to do really nice things to these pulleys here. I'm probably on my 4th coat, and the timing cover as well on the engine. Look at that oxidation there from the aluminum. I don't want this to be painted.
What makes the Blue Magic so special is that it's magic, and look how quickly it turns those polishing wheels black, because every time you are hitting it, you're just removing so much dirt, and the ammonia is very potent, very strong. It doesn't damage the metal. If anything, it just comes out real pretty. They've added a silicone, I believe, to the compound, so at the end of it, it does kind of give it a protective layer, so it won't oxidize, it won't flash rust, it won't fade immediately. You can see how they compare side by side. Carburetors do get pretty hot, so the finish might not last, but it's still nice to have that looking real good at first, and it really helps the video. Constantly I was cleaning the wheels, the polishing wheels, soap and water, letting them dry, and then coming back for another round of polishing. So there's gonna be quite a bit of that throughout this video. Lemon juice and baking soda did nothing. Thought I'd try it though, but if anything, it just removes some of the dirt or dust that's settled and caked on the material, but it is not going to bring out much of a shine on any of this stuff. But I was waiting for those polishing wheels to dry, so back to the Blue Magic once that all came out.
Here's manifold number 2. This is jelly from the paint stripper that I've applied to it. And then I let it soak inside of the degreaser bucket, but it looks like that jelly's still there, so I'll take a couple of gloves, make sure my hands are protected.
Much like how a lot of BMW aluminum pieces have like that yellowish finish to it, I'm not exactly sure if it's an anodizing or some sort of clear coat that they use. It was kind of yellowish on this manifold, so I used the Scotch-Brite pad with the lemon juice to get any of the paint stripper jelly off, and then I could use Blue Magic.
Okay, the Scotch-Brite pad did nothing for the rust. What do they call it? Aluminum rust, which is what I believe is all of this. This could just be old dirt. Let's see. It'll take a lot of scrubbing to get that out, and it didn't really do much with this to begin with. So the next step is to take some very, very dangerous and potent muriatic acid. It's the stuff used to clean concrete, pools. Don't use it on steel. It'll rust. But on aluminum, 30 seconds, scrub or no scrub. Let's give it a shot. It didn't really do that much, or maybe it did, I'm not sure. It honestly took away maybe 40 or 60% of the aluma rust out there. It did, however, destroy the stainless steel finish or galvanized finish, whatever it is, on these little grates here. So it's potent stuff when it hits steel. Aluminum is a little more forgivable. This is a steel plug, and it flash rusted. These are steel, but I think I avoided getting it on there for any extended period of time. Anyway, that's all I think I want to do on this one, because it's just, I wanted to compare the acid treatment to the other one. Looks nice on the bottom. Obviously, there's not much wear on there, and it doesn't, I mean, minus the heat from the engine, it doesn't seem to get a lot of dirt, because both bottoms are really clean on these. 418, 404, early E18 style, the B20 style, same flange for the carburation. The fuel injection ones, I think, have a thicker flange. Or is it a thinner flange? I always forget. These spacers, these are plastic spacers, and I think this is the direction of airflow, because there is an actual pattern on the back. The studs that came out of here, they're just too short to fit the spacer, the carburetor flange, and the heat shield. Also, adding the spacer adds 2 more gaskets to the whole thing, so we're looking at a total of 4 papers per each side. Finally got all my studs transferred over from my B20A head. Interesting thing about the B20 carbureted heads, and I think this is true for all carbureted heads, they've got these little sleeves on the exhaust. They just pop out with a screwdriver. There's not much to it. But those are guides for the exhaust, and the B20F heads that I have, both of them have just tapers. I'm not sure if it's exclusive to fuel injection versus carburation, but that's what it seems to be. All the threads are different on all these different studs. I bought a couple of studs from the hardware store. They're very expensive, $3 a piece, and if you're buying 8 of them, that adds up. Thankfully, I can return all of them by using the studs from the B20A head, which has 5/16 18. which is both sides on the old studs, okay? And then you go to some of these other engines, like the B20B that I have in the corner, and it's got fine thread on one side of them. What? Okay, and then you go to some of these other ones, and you just end up with like fine thread all around. This is orange, so it tells me that it's from Arthur. That one's, let's just throw that away. These are all just different. It's weird. Basically, 2 hours later, I can finally get to where I should have been okay starting initially, but hey, that's the price of upgrading some of those little spacers, you know, that's it. So even though I'm not rebuilding these carburetors just quite, don't have the machinery for pressing in the bearings, all those little brass bearings that are going to be part of the throttle, etc. I am checking the operation of them to make sure everything's okay and cleaning whatever is necessary. And part of that is the needle valve and seat, which is this little guy right here. There was a spider in the secondary chamber over there. Tiny little thing. It was dead, but it was probably the cause of our valve here being stuck. Now, these are real simple in operation. There's a little silver ball in there, and as the fuel level fills up, the float pushes up the plunger, and then the plunger pushes the ball to the top, and it stops the fuel from coming in. It enters in through these holes. So a little bit of carb cleaner through the top, through the sides, made sure everything was cleared out. There's no more varnish or old gasoline causing it to be stuck, or potentially spider bits. Just amazing how they get in here sometimes. Yeah, you should be able to hear that nice little tick as it goes up and down on its own. And you can always confirm operation, blow through this hole and toggle this, make sure it doesn't get stuck one way or another. There was actually very little torque to the needle valve on the bottom of this, so I'm not going to put a lot myself. The symptom would be, if you didn't fix this, you wouldn't get gasoline into your second carburetor. So you might have a start, but it wouldn't be a very good one. And this little plastic guy here, looks like the floats don't have an adjustment on them. They are fixed with the plastic casting, which makes my job a little easier. I don't have to concern myself with that, so I can focus on the finer things in life. Right? There's nothing that retains this pin. I think it just stays in by sheer fact that it's right up against the edges of the casting, so it won't actually slide out. Very cool, very simple. Now, boy, I get so nostalgic with the smell of gasoline. Whew, especially on these old carbs. All right, just reminds me of Arthur, you know? I really love that car, and he's got such a good home now. Anyway, Bruce is going to be awesome, and I'm so happy to have SUs on this car. None of that Weber stuff. So the this valve, this second port here, just like the Mikunis have their small hoses for overflow, I believe that's what this is, because it's just a port right in the very middle, right in the very top, where if gasoline gets past this level and the valve does not stop, it'll spill out of here rather than bust a gasket. There were no clamps right here, but I'm going to put some because I'm not going to take any chances, even if it didn't need clamps in the past. There's the old hose. This one's not particularly great, so I'll pull out the valve just using the side of a wrench to tap that out. Little pliers, pull it the rest of the way. Little float, very nice. See, the floats on the Weber were adjustable, and I didn't like that. The float is adjustable on a lot of these, but this is a non-adjustable style float right now. Otherwise, you're looking at 3.2 to 4.8 millimeters approximately on early or later production. That's what my book says.
And you can always count on the iPhone to make photos look pretty. Now it's time to move onward with our assembly of the linkage. I'm really glad that I had old parts boxes around from Bruce, because some of those link pieces were just missing over the years, especially with the Weber conversion. A really bad thing to do is attach a drill to your linkage, because it got out of hand at one point. It caught my towel and then it bent the linkage, but I bent it back and then just went back with the polishing. And don't try this at home. That's all I'm going to say. It'd be best to just send this off to get like zinc plated or just paint it black. I think zinc plating is just the way to go with all those little hardware bits and pieces, especially since it's all done in bulk. And when you're putting the throttle linkage onto the carburetors, there's so many adjustments, from the travel of the pedal all the way through to the vertical piece, and then across the carburetors through the manifold and down into the left and right side carburetor. There's a lot of adjustments to keep in mind, so I'll try to find the link for that and put it down in the description.
The AC Delco alternator has arrived. It's part of the SWEM upgrade kit. I gotta close the garage door because that's the only way to get this place below 90 degrees. Otherwise I'm sweating, but I start to feel like this nocturnal animal and never get to work in this daylight. All right, back to the grinder. There's a line in Pink Floyd's The Wall about working so much and your hands being swollen. Well, I woke up today and my right hand was just all swollen, and it's still tingly, and it feels very much like I shouldn't work anymore, but I don't have the luxury of taking any time off. And I've had to go from large to now extra large gloves to make up for my new hand size. Oh, it's numb and tingly. This is what happens when you work too much, people. Don't work this much. It's not healthy to put in 12 to 14 hours a day. Hey, deadlines are fun, right? That's a lot of tractor for a little man. I mean, the other way around.
Oh, I love that guy. All right, back to things like the starter motor. That's gonna get a nice polish, and then I'll tape off the sections and paint the black bits, and it's gonna look good as new when it's all finished.
Okay, we're back with the metal Polish cream. Let's see how this works.
I think I hit every metal piece that I polished about 3 times, because that is the first time you're gonna get all the dirt out. The second time gets less and then less and less. So everything looks good here, and starter motors, we have so many spare starter motors. They hardly ever go bad, but whoever gave us all the parts for Bruce sure did collect them. And now the fun bit, where I finally start to assemble all the little bits and pieces, the connecting ends in the engine bay. This takes some time, so let's have some music.
In the words of, well, I hope Jean-Luc Picard, confidence without humility is arrogance. That's how I would describe this book here, when it says, just in case one of our readers doesn't know how to set the valve clearance, we show a photograph of it being done. Lower the cylinder head onto the gasket. Be careful to align the holes accurately. Volvo suggests that guide pins are put in the cylinder block to help, but the trouble saved by using guide pins is less than the trouble taken to prepare and insert them. Gosh, I love that these are like non-official editorials of the repair manual itself. because certain things are very helpful, like the fact that the valve train rocker assembly does not have a torque spec. So it says here, Volvo did not lay down a torque wrench setting for the rocker shaft fixing bolts, so we feel it's a good idea that they're evenly tightened with a torque wrench and suggest a fitting of 25 foot-pounds. You know, makes us all feel better knowing that a pretty critical engine component is torqued down to a set specification. Now the distributor shaft is in place, the rocker assembly has been adjusted with all the valves. I made sure to put my distributor in correctly this time because I'm 2 for 2 for getting it backwards or off 180 degrees. But I think I got it right on the compression stroke. Now is the time to install our beautiful engine cover. Then onto the cooling system, the water pump, pipes that run to the back of the head. And my VP order is going to ship on Monday. That's got my headers. Once I have those in place, I can install the carburetors. So in the meantime, it's looking so good. I'm just really rocking and rolling on the progress here. Hope you're enjoying the time lapse. I just emptied the bag, the distributor here, the bolts for it. And coming out of the bag, this is how it formed. How cool. Oh man, I'm geeking out over magnetism. I don't think my neighborhood's gonna miss me. That is a loud little speaker. Makes you powerful.